What's up, family? Welcome back to another video. So today we're going to dive into a developing story with significant implications for public safety and our understanding of global terrorism, right? So a shocking incident unfolded on New Year's Eve involving a deadly vehicle attack in New Orleans that authorities are now labeling as an act of terrorism. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe, hit that post notification, turn your bells on so you stay updated in regards to stories like this. But let's get into the details. So before we watch the video, I'd like to add some context. So here we know so far a suspect drove a rented pickup truck at high speed through a crowded area of Bourbon Street in New Orleans, targeting pedestrians during New Year's Eve celebrations. Tragically, 10 people lost their lives and over 35 others were injured. And this heinous act disrupted the celebrations of hundreds of people and has left the community reeling, right? So I want you guys to check out in regards of the breaking news and what the FBI was working on during the beginning of things breaking out and things happening right away and people trying to take action to figure out what happened. But check out what the New Orleans Police Department superintendent had to say.
This event started at about 3:15. It did involve a man driving a pickup truck down Bourbon Street at a very fast pace, and it was very intentional behavior. This man was trying to run over as many people as he possibly could. It was not a DUI situation. This is a more complex and more serious based on the information we have right now. With respect to numbers, we have right now, and as you already know, this could change throughout the day. We do know that there are 26 injured people who are at UMC Hospital. We know we have 4 at Turo, 4 at Ochsner Baptist, 1 at Tulane, but even as I was walking out the door, I believe I have an unconfirmed additional people who have been taken to other area hospitals, possibly on the east side. But we will give you as many correct numbers as we can as the day progresses. It is a very tragic situation for me to tell you that we know we have 10 people that this man killed on Bourbon Street. That is why we do not want anyone on Bourbon Street today. Wherever you see yellow tape, please do not violate this tape. This is in order to protect and stabilize the scene. We have information to a certain degree of the demographics of those who are in the hospital right now. We do not know at this point how many could be tourists versus locals, but from the information I have right now, it seems the majority are locals versus tourists. What I also can tell you is that this man, this perpetrator, he fired on our officers from his vehicle when he crashed his vehicle. 2 of our officers have been shot. They are stable, and we will give you an update on them. I have yet been able to go to the hospital. I will be leaving here for us to go visit our officers. We have called in every officer that we have. We have so much appreciated our partnerships who have also offered us staff. Last night, we had over 300 officers out here. And because of the intentional mindset of this perpetrator who went around our barricades in order to conduct this, he was hell-bent on creating the carnage and the damage that he did. Because of the nature and the indices that we have on the scene, and we have enough information that the FBI will be taking over this investigation. And with that, I am going to be asking, this is the assistant agent in charge. This is Agent Duncan, Special Agent Duncan. And she has taken over this case on behalf of us and the FBI. As always, we will be in partnership with all of our partners. But Agent Duncan, if you want to have a few words for everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning. My name is Alethea Duncan. I'm the Assistant Special Agent in charge for FBI New Orleans. As Chief Kirkpatrick said, we'll be taking over the investigative lead for this event. This is not a terrorist event. What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices that was found, and we are working on confirming if this is a viable device or not.
Now, that's what has a lot of people outraged, because she basically said that the FBI is stating basically that the New Orleans mass casualty incident is not a terrorist event, right? And even though improvised explosive devices, we know, basically was involved in this incident that was found, and the FBI is working to confirm whether that device is viable or not. And people are like, well, if it was an improvised explosive device, then there should be no question that obviously the way this whole terrorist thing went, but it's obvious that, one, that it's a terrorist attack, and it's obvious too that if you even have to look in to see if an explosive device came with the motive of it being a terrorist attack, then it should be a terrorist attack and assumed as one anyway, right? Because me knowing a little bit about law enforcement and speaking with those out there, you always assume something before you actually get, even though you always assume based on what's found, even though that's surface, and then you'll have all the other details to substantiate whether what your assumption was true or not, right? It's like from a scientific theory. You have a hypothesis, you go through all these tests, and then you have a conclusion, right? So, but it's a no-brainer in this sense. And a lot of people is outraged the simple fact that you can say it's not a terrorist attack when clearly, just add a little bit of more context, family, that he had an ISIS flag. So the suspect, law enforcement discovered several items, and he rented in his rented vehicle, right? So it included an ISIS flag and improvised explosive devices, right? So what else do you need to know if it's a terrorist attack, when we all know when it comes to terrorism in itself, it comes with a political ideology, which is the motive within itself. Obviously, this guy had a motive, and it was intentional, because she just mentioned the lieutenant of New Orleans Police Department that it wasn't a DUI. So he wasn't driving under the influence or nothing like that. It's just he was hell bent. So hell bent, in other words, these devices were stored in the ice chest, right? So this suggests that the attack was premeditated in my eyes, with the intent to cause even more devastation, because obviously he stored more devices. And I don't know how you can call something not a terrorist attack when you have all the clues within itself that's self-explanatory. And this suspect, according to law enforcement, investigators are now probing whether he acted alone on top of it or had ties to a larger network. You know what I'm saying? Even though let's add a little bit more details from what I learned is the vehicle was rented through a peer-to-peer platform, likely like Turo, right? Where individuals rent out their private vehicles. And this just adds another layer to the investigation, as the truck's owner has been confirmed uninvolved, right? So, I mean, it also lessens the argument that he was doing this with other ties to any other individuals and just acted alone. But I want you guys to check out another clip in regards of, basically, the city of New Orleans had hydraulic steel car bars, but left down them last night when it came to New Year's Eve going into the New Year's, and they opted for flimsy orange ones that you could just push all over with a tip of a finger, which is horrible on my end, because this is basically a highly known, highly vibrational, highly exciting moment for many Americans celebrating coming into the new year. So I don't know why they thought that was going to be a barrier for security. And the way it exposes itself is basically individuals didn't do their job, in my opinion. But let me know down in the comments how you guys feel.
Patrick said, we'll be taking.
This is the audio. It's not me. It's coming out one-sided. Just to let you know, that's how the clip is. It's not me on my end with the audio.
Patrick said, we'll be taking over the investigative lead for this event. This is not a terrorist event. What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices that was found, and we are working on confirming if it's a viable device or not. As Chief Kirkpatrick said,
We saw that already. So check out this when it came to the security of individuals when it came for them celebrating the new year. Check out, this is the clip I want to show you guys. I just wanted you guys to see the other clip in regards of her saying it's not viable as we put our context clues together and I ask you guys for your perspective as I let off my thoughts of this whole incident, which is crazy within itself.
I mean, she was an older Hispanic woman, probably in her mid-30s. She had a wedding ring on her finger. We were that close.
I just didn't know if there were kids or, any kids around
No,
at
there
that
was
time.
no
Because it
small.
was 3 a.m.
No small children.
Okay.
No small children. I mean,
But
none in our area.
Right. Did you see, when you were looking down from the balcony, did you see the truck? Did you see the suspect?
Oh, he had been gone. That's what I was telling other news sources. Like, we have these hydraulic steel barriers from past events. Last Mardi Gras, this happened to an extent, maybe not terrorism, but still people getting hit in mass population with vehicles. Those barricades were not up, period. They had the flimsy orange ones that you could just push over with your finger. We actually thought it was kind of odd because usually when you get to Bourbon Street, you can turn your back to Canal and not worry about anything. You can just walk the street, especially on New Year's, and there were still vehicles coming after 8 p.m. And then, I mean, the fact that they never raised them. That's how this guy was able to get down Bourbon Street so quickly and cause so much damage. Because there's other barricades past the Canal and Bourbon intersection. There's more like every 2-3 blocks. So what was 10 or 15 dead and 30 wounded could have only been maybe 5 and 15. I mean, who can say, but it definitely would have been minimalized because this truck could not go around those barricades. Everything in New Orleans in the French Quarter has a balcony. All the balconies have poles, several steel posts, and there's no going around anything. If that barricade's up, that's a wrap. That's your end.
So just to be clear, you're saying that they were just the flimsy orange barricades that weren't up, that
Yes,
they weren't the same barricades there as
ones were
elsewhere.
completely down. No, the metal ones were absolutely not engaged.
Wow. And that struck you at the time, right?
Were down.
Because there was that
I mean, yeah, because
2017
we had
incident with Mardi Gras where a drunk driver drove through. And so from what my understanding is, they increased.
And this is what I asked family because I think we got enough context here and details as I'm just being very cautious about the narratives that emerge for such events like this heinous event. But at the end of the day, my opinion is, and I want to ask you guys, they basically underscored the security measure and not assuming they needed high security during the busiest nights of the year going into the new year by basically putting up flimsy orange little barricades that you could push over, and they didn't take heightened security measures being in regards of being ignorant to the American people or the people that were celebrating that night in this area in Bourbon Street. That's my opinion. Comment down below. Do you guys feel like they were ignorant and they didn't do their job in regards of being more high security and taking higher safety measures and protecting the people? Because in my opinion, I believe they didn't, especially that an incident happened like this before on Mardi Gras in that same area. You think you would learn from the first time you had an incident like that, but still at this point, it's just plain ignorance. You know what I'm saying? One time, okay, understandable. I mean, I guess you had to work through. I mean, it's still unfortunate because either way you put it, they're both still heinous such acts. But the simple fact is, if you had an act happen before, you would take more safety measures and precautions to not make it happen again if you got painted the picture the first time. So at this point, I blame law enforcement and I blame whoever was there and assigned to basically secure this area. But moving on next, I just wanted to show you guys the individual who basically mowed through these 10 individuals, and they have identified him as well, this is the truck. This is the F-150, right? And then next, this is the individual. So his name is, he's 42 years old. His name is Shamsud Dean Jabbar, who grew up in Texas, and according to the latest information, served in the U.S. Army for 10 years. And this is a veteran, so that's even worse. But and this is another clearer picture of him because the FBI have identified him. And this is the same person that I named, and he's a U.S. citizen from Texas who served in the U.S. Army, like I said, and worked as a real estate agent. You know, he had the ISIS flag, the weapons, explosive, explosive device, improvised explosive devices, IEDs in that case, found in the truck, and more discovered in the French Quarter. So, all I gotta say, family, in concluding this video is I want to take a minute to discuss the broader implications of this incident, because many residents and visitors are shaken, obviously, and events like this underscore the importance of vigilance and public safety measures in crowded spaces. And while it's clear that this is a terrorist and was a terrorist attack, it's important to remain critical about being very, very strategic when it comes to safety measures, right? And they can try to move the goalposts on things, but at the end of the day, it was the individuals that it falls on. Obviously, this individual doing this ignorant, heinous act, but it also fall on the individuals who could have prevented this act in the first place as much as possible. So, look, I'm gonna leave it there, and at the end of the day, we should just focus on the victims and their families, because this tragedy is a stark of a reminder of basically the unpredictable nature of the world we live in and the importance of community resilience. And I want to know you guys' thoughts on this incident. Do you think this will change how we approach public safety and terrorism prevention moving forward? And as always, don't forget to hit this a like for this video if you got some value from it, and just enjoy the conversation, family. So, peace.